County?
What do I do?
Should we have a new draft?
No.
They got
I just printed out the, just.
I don't think
growth in Plymouth County.
I list mine.
Is there more motion?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Where is my-
It's landlocked. It was built in the.
Welcome, everybody. We're online. Welcome back to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of February, which is hard to believe. And today is a day that we pivot to economic development. And we have a rich line of witnesses to discuss our investments in the resources that we provide our businesses. So what our objective is in large measure in this bill is to be both reviewing the resources we offer our businesses in all stages of development, from startup, really first stage right through to mature companies. And we want to be clarifying what those resources are. And today we're actually looking at resources that are established, that are effective, and that need more investment from us to be more effective. So we are going to, I think, Rick, we we've walked through S-30. 327.
Well, the committee voted it out.
Yeah, we voted it out and so we are going to go through section by section, as you know. We will do that. But today we're going to start with section today we're going to start with section 3, and we're going to be Linda Rossi is not available. She'll be coming to speak with us next week. But we're going to begin with Nicole Kilran, who runs the Vermont Law and Graduate School's office of the Vermont Small Business Law Center. So, Nicole, we welcome you to the table. Come and join us. We're on page 3 of F327.
Sorry, I thought it was going Mr. Perchlik.
You what?
I thought it was going second after Mr. Perchlik, so I did not yet.
Oh, after Princeton Bagels.
Who is this?
Yeah. And that's a different thing. Happy that.
Bagel like bagel.
Thanks. And so, yes, anyway, today we're going to hear how you're doing, what you're doing, how we can further help you on your mission of helping Vermont businesses, and in what capacity.
And I'm not sure if I'm able to, Kiara, if you have the presentation, if you're able to put it up. I don't have the Zoom link handy and I don't want to slow anything down. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, it's really important.
So, why don't you, what? She'll pull it up. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Nicole Kilran. I'm the director of the Vermont Small Business Law Center at Vermont Law and Graduate School.
And
what I'm here to talk about today is what we're going to help hopefully request some money from the state, which is a nice thing to have an option to do. But what I want to do is just give an update to the Senate Economic Development Committee, because we haven't seen it in a year. So
it's been a year.
It's been a year.
And boy, has it been a year.
It has been a year. What I have in my presentation, I should be able to see it over there enough to be able to. Oh my gosh, but it's
Yeah.
So sorry.
I heard I need to make it full screen.
I've got it here. We're good.
Yeah. Thomas, can you give Kiara a notion of how we make it full screen?
Yeah, I was looking for that too.
This is
If you click on this right here, Kiara, then you should see full screen mode.
Oh, interesting.
And then full screen mode.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Work.
Oh, very
Right. Nicole, it is.
I apologize for the awkwardness, guys. Would be to 2026 without the technological failure. So again, this is what we do. We do individual educational consults. We pay attorney referrals. We have a network that I'll speak about, and we do public educational events that get a number of people in one spot. Next slide, please. This is an update on our numbers. We have 2024 and 2025 here. You can see we've had a growth in intakes, 20%. We have done almost half as many educational consultations. I'll explain the businesses matched being flat there. We've seen an increase in the number of educational presentations, slight drop in the number of attendees. Not sure what that's about. So that's what the numbers show. We expect that the numbers you see in that middle column there, that middle line, business match, will not increase unless we have additional funding. We are currently flat, unable to serve additional people without the ability to pay for attorney's fees and for administrative staff to be able to process those.
And what makes a company eligible to receive your services?
They have to have less than 20 full-time employees. Right. And so if we qualify them, we pick for profits and nonprofits.
Right.
We have quite a robust attorney network. We have a couple of different arms here. We've got the general practice network that Vermont Bar Association handles. That's really going to handle most any transactional need, even litigation advice for most small businesses. We have now, thanks to the state small business credit initiative, we have a capital transaction network that we've been developing. Also a small network of employee ownership to the extent we can find people who will do that work. We have recruited a national pro bono law firm, McDermott Will Schulte, that provides additional capacity pro bono. They take the complicated cases that we really can't find counsel for. And then we have a really good pool of people in the Vermont Lawyer, the Lawyer Incubator Program that the LGS and VBA run. That people,
VBA,
Vermont Bar Association, I apologize, let me fill out the acronyms. This is a program that specifically takes people who want to build a solo practice, requires them to be in an area of need, either an area of practice or a geographic area of need. We help them build their solo practice for 18 months. This builds our small firm capacity to just help more people in our communities. Right. These are our partners that we work with in 2025, either to do work together, do presentations together. We have a wide variety of people that we're working with. One of the best partners that we've added in the last year is we've had. And that is
An acronym?
incredible, that Vermont Manufacturing Extension.
right?
So that has been a great partnership for us to be able to access that part of the economy that's just not had legal support before.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
VMAC hasn't had.
They
legal
have not
support
had
before.
much access to lawyers. They are struggling to find people who have expertise in the specialized trade issues, the especially supply chain issues. We're contemplating seeing if we can help with maybe like a contract clinic for them because they have such specialized needs for their members, for small manufacturers. Can we go to the next one? Sorry, next one. Sorry. There we go. This is the topics that we covered in our 2025 presentations. We did, I think, 70 of them. The one on the left is what we do twice a month, legal basics for startups. We cover everything that they basically need to need. Entity formation, liability contracts, intellectual property, how to hire and work with a lawyer. That's kind of tricky. You can see we've done some other specialized topics on the right there, including targeting particular industries such as the medical aid and dying industry and the mental health practitioners industry. They've approached us and asked for us to do just something for a group of their businesses so we can help get their feet under them.
And what's a MAID business?
Medical aid and
Oh, MedClaim. Okay. And, wow, this is terrific. And just as a reminder, with under 20 employees, this means companies that are really just startups. I mean, what we're going to hear from is microbusiness over here.
Mhm.
So from microbusiness on up to companies that employ over 20, you are able to really help them, identify what legal structure they want to form under, like the whole 9 yards.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead and finish your thought.
It goes way beyond entity formation, of
Yeah,
course, but it's less than 20 full-time employees, which really takes us from ideation to these are mid-sized companies that have their feet under them that are dealing with, mid-stage growth issues. They're dealing with regulatory issues. They're needing to find different supply chains for their products. I've got one person recently who we're expecting more people to be targeted by ADA non-compliance lawsuits. Yeah, saying your website, I can't use it, I'm disabled, and they've got a lawsuit now. This is a major manufacturer in the state. So but it's still a small business. They have less than 20 full-time employees.
Right. So before I go to David, in that instance where you have a lawsuit, you then refer them to.
What I tried to do was to get the pro bono law firm to take them, but they did not have capacity to help with their practice group that handles those sorts of claims. So
But they often
have to top
do.
it back. They often
You
do.
have
So
to.
they'll take pro bono full service for those cases sometimes. And if not, we found somebody who's willing to provide them with legal advice. We don't pay for attorney's fees. We don't pay for representation in a lawsuit, but we will pay for the legal advice for the.
And you do up to 10 hours.
Up to 10
for free.
hours for each business.
Right. David.
if you can characterize, I like the fact that you're offering training. Okay, that's different from legal advice. Okay, so how would you split the bucket between training and legal advice? Like 50-50 or?
It is about 50-50 for our program, for our budget. We spend about half of it on the educational program. We benefit enormously from having free labor. We have students, 6 to 8 of them every semester, who come in and help us with these educational consults. They help us with the public presentations. We have a great workforce. We also have several very part-time faculty to help us with the consultations. That's about half of our costs, and the other half goes partially to the Vermont Bar Association for their overhead, so they can help us with the program and the attorney's fees. We do have a couple I wanted to mention that are on contract. We have people who can take referral just within a week, hopefully. If they have capacity, they can always turn it down, but we ask them if they have a lease review, if there's a threat of litigation, if they need to answer a complaint or something like that. We can get them to an attorney who's on contract, usually within a week or two. So we would like to build up that capacity as well, because that can make a difference for a small business to have legal counsel when they need it, to be able to do what they need when they need it, right? So, terrific. Next slide, please. You've got it already, great. So these, I'm not going to go through these in detail, obviously, but these are opportunities for additional education for small business owners. This is the trends that we have seen in the last year. The trends were a little bit different in the previous year. I'm not going to go through these. I can speak to any of these if you want to. I would be happy to come and speak to any of you if you want on any of these particular topics as well.
Yeah, which I'm just curious as we look at business in what areas do you see growing in particular? Are more companies interested in employee ownership when they get? Are we hitting more land use and neighbor disputes? Where do you see the growth, the particular growth in need of further education?
I would say we're seeing a lot of professional services people, both multi-state. We're seeing quite a few people with questions of, I have a practice in another state. How do I bring it to this state? Do I register in both states? How do I transition between those states? Do I maintain both? We have seen some targeted litigation, mostly for IP infringement, claims of someone using an image without permission. Or the ADA non-compliance lawsuit that I was saying, those seem to be, those are not easy to tackle with legislation, but those are things that we're seeing that are troubling because they really shut a small business down. They completely, they disable the owner at the very least and put a lot of anxiety into their life. We see commercial leases. I want to come back to this because with the floods 2023, 2024, the biggest issue that I saw coming to me from small businesses was commercial leases that didn't have any protective terms, did not speak to the process after a flood, after a disaster. Verbal leases, my goodness, those make me nervous. But commercial leases do not have any base protections for either party. Unlike residential leases. Residential leases has the Residential Rental Agreement Act that provides at least the basics. But
have you in those cases been able to add elements to the contract to protect
that's the hope. What we educate them on what the appropriate clauses are going to be, what they should look for, and then we send them to the attorney, somebody who at least has a little bit of experience working with those kinds of things, and they help them write those leases. Any other questions on these?
The people who might be the adverse parties in cases that you get involved in, do you find that many of them sometimes are small businesses as well?
They are. And we have not had opportunity to have to navigate this sort of conflict situation like that with both sides coming to us for representation, but they're a small business themselves. What we have done is been able to support both sides of a transaction. For example, we'll support both sides of an employee ownership, a co-op or of a sale or a friendly transaction. So, and it's coming from congressional money, and we pay both sides of it. They represent the individuals instead of the business in that case.
When you say they're both sides involved, is it both involved with the same lawyer, or is it split so that there's the protection?
Correct. I'm sorry. Yeah. It is split between two lawyers, so there'd be two lawyers that we could cover the cost of that transaction with.
Great. Oh, that's going back. That's going backward. Go forward. Okay.
I just wanted to note, because we're continuing to do this work. We did a lot of responsive work in 2023 and 2024 for everybody who was hit by the flood. but small businesses in particular, and we're continuing to see some people who are recovering, particularly in bios, are really struggling to get through it. They're still working on closing. So I just wanted to point that out. That's a pocket of work that we do, that we would love to be able to do, especially if we continue to be hit every summer with some sort of flooding.
Have you taken those up to the areas that have been impacted the most severely in the last 2 years? Like, have you sort of taken the show on the road up to the Northeast Kingdom and stuff?
We have, we found a lot of need for that sort of direct in-person contact immediately after the 2023-2024 floods. We tried a few more flood times after that. Did not have a lot of people showing up for whatever reason. They just did not come to us into the same places we went to. So what we're doing now is we're working through the long-term recovery networks and trying to identify through them the individual families and businesses that are still working through legal issues. The Vermont Bar Association is kind enough to have a small pocket of money they can use to pay for attorney's fees 5 hours at a time. If it's a business, we can offer an additional 10. So I just wanted to point out we're doing that work. Hope to continue to do that work. It seems to be an important need getting to lawyers.
Well, yes, it's all great.
Next slide, if we could. So funding status, and I'll go, actually, I want to switch back and forth between these two because I got news last night. Currently 100% federally funded. We are on a fiscal year 23 congressionally directed spending grant that's administered by SBA. That expires June 30th of this year. We are also have a small contract through Small Business Development Center for the State Small Business Credit Initiative. You can see there. And thanks to M&T Bank, they're supporting our flood response work. We got a little bit from them. And then Brattleboro Development Credit Corp wanted us to help some of their particular clients, and they gave us $800 to just put into the pot and say, we'll help with the attorneys. So that's,
Yeah.
So 100% of your funding comes from the feds.
right, except for these two little, the M&T Bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do they set the bar at 20 employees? Is that there?
That was our choice to do 20 FTE. We could
Do they-
probably go up to 50 FTE, I believe is the definition of a small business under SBA.
But we have so, I mean, the numbers drop off, as you know, after
Yeah.
20. I mean, the biggest need is 20 and under.
How much money are we talking about?
Well, that goes to her news.
Yeah, let's go to the next one if we could. So we just learned last night that our request that we submitted 2 years ago has been approved for $555,000 in Congress. So this would be a congressionally directed spending grant, probably administered through SBA
To be spent in what period?
to be spent. Well, we get to decide that.
Okay.
So that's about a year of our budget. That is going to support us for about a year. We could potentially make it go a little further. The other things that I'm noting here, the ones below are attempts to raise capital that we did not succeed on. We approached a bunch of different foundations and tried some different approaches. We are on the regional project priority project list for Green Mountain Economic Development Corporation. We have some promising conversations with Kaufman Foundation to develop a national toolkit to be able to take this model and be able to export it to other states using the same pieces: Small Business Development Center, Vermont, the Manufacturing Extension Centers, the law school that has an economic development clinic of some sort. We are having promising conversations to be able to build that, expand it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That people are looking to us to model that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Vermont, this
Very
doesn't
exciting.
exist anywhere in the country. I've been to a number of different conferences. I've talked to SBA. I've talked to different people at the federal and state level. We're looking at different support mechanisms. This doesn't exist. And it's been so incredibly helpful for Vermonters. I want to take it everywhere in the country. So,
Right. Just exciting. So, while we're on this, so when we were developing our bill, their funding was ending in June of 26. So we have put a placeholder in for money for the law center. And so I just this is new news, very exciting new news.
Yeah.
And so I've asked Nicole to address what additionally from state investment would help and why.
yes.
So I'll ask why.
Yeah.
If the feds have fully funded what you need for a year, why should the state write a check?
Totally fair question.
And that's the question.
Because part of it has to do with the fact that where we're at, we are not able to serve any more people. So that 165 number that you saw for 2 years, that is the capacity of our attorney referral network. We have that little bit of relief from the pro bono firm. We're trying to find more opportunities like that, but currently that's our capacity. That serves a fair number of people. It doesn't serve anywhere near the level of need that we're seeing. And that's part of the answer.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Thomas.
do you have any measure of unmet demand? Do you have any, these are the people we're turning away that if we had more resources, we would be serving?
We have currently the backlog of people that we're trying to place that we are, that we don't have the ability to place until we have additional funding. We have the requests that are coming in that we're starting to have to turn away, but again, we just learned the news last night, so we have to reconfigure and see where things go. What we have is, the 350 people that are requesting help and the 165 people that we can get to help and the roughly 200 plus that we're asking for help from us.
So you're
Out
able
of
to
those,
165.
165 for referrals. That's what the attorney network can pay for. Beyond that, if I'm going to be able to provide any additional help, if I can place if I can place people with legal help for a quick response, if I can get them to somebody for a capital transaction, the more demand that we see, the less we're able to place people because we're maxed out in our attorney network. So I'm not trying to dodge the answer to the question. You have a good question. We have this bit we got from Congress that carries for a year. We don't have anything for base funding beyond that. So we will continue to have to look for base funding. What we're hoping to do is to have a national toolkit that we can then expand into other states with other funding to keep it going. That is the current plan.
So developing the national
Developing
toolkit
that.
would be a piece of what this
What keeps
the
us
state funding might pay for.
correct. That's what we'd be looking to, because we can't keep looking at congressionally funding reports. Those are one-time things, and we can't keep coming to the state for one-time reports either. If this becomes enough of a foundational support for businesses in the state, I would love to see this become part of the state's budget. But right now we have to come to you for one-time requests.
Right.
800,000 would get us most of the way through 2 years.
So you're addressing on the 300,000.
Yes, and I'm sorry. Yes.
Right.
So I didn't go through that part. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
So this would change. This facilitates educational programming. It allows us to continue the services that we have. It allows us to expand them and cover more people. It also allows us what I'm trying to point out is that we support every aspect of the ecosystem. We can support the General Assembly with testimony to the specific issues that you're working with. We can support the specific businesses as well as supporting even the organizations that have the legal questions that they need help on, right?
Like
Vermont professionals of color,
Yeah.
we answer legal questions for almost
Other
all
organizations.
aspects of the ecosystem.
Right.
And we do so through only information, and if they need access to an attorney, we can get them there. So I don't think that answers your question sufficiently, and I apologize.
No, my hesitation is that, we get the feds, whatever it was, 500,000.
Yeah.
State stocks on top of that.
Yeah.
Next year comes around, you're used to having, quite a healthy budget.
Yeah.
And then you're asking for that amount of money if the feds don't come back through.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see if what the feds offered was already satisfying your operational requirements.
Mhm.
And you said it does. So
It does.
I'm listening to why the state should add on top of it.
Understood. My argument would be the state should add on top of it if it wants the service to continue and to serve more people.
to begin to help have some skin in the
Yeah,
game, which
and-
we don't at the moment.
Yeah.
The law school has skin in the game, but not the state. And the law school isn't funding you, other than providing your time. It's, your time is paid for by the grant.
That's correct.
But the law school's providing space.
That's correct. The law school provides the space that provide the most important benefit is the business office and accounting. They provide an essential service for us to be able to do this work. And I also teach and I participate in all of those activities that the law school is on.
But this, so I think what I hear you saying is that state money would help you expand who you're able to serve at the moment,
That's correct.
in simple terms.
In simple terms, what I would like to do is to recruit additional attorney. I have one attorney I'd like to put on a contract right now who has experience in international trade issues and in all of the issues that Vermont Manufacturing Extension Center members need help with
Right.
that I can't help with right now. And I'm finding little pockets of these specialized needs that if I can identify an attorney, I can get them to those businesses and target the help.
Right. So there's
But I
some
need
business,
capital to be able to do that.
so there's some advice you're not able to give at the moment
Yes.
because you don't have the
It's
expertise.
too specialized. It's something that Vermont just doesn't have to. And again, I can rely a bit on the pro bono firm if they're able to take the cases.
Got it. Okay, thanks. Is that beginning to get to your answer?
we're getting there.
Yeah, we're
It's a
getting
challenging one. I walked in here not knowing how to answer that question, to be honest with you, because it
Because
might
this
change
was
the
such-
circumstances. Yeah.
that, David.
You guys seem to have an understanding of what this bar at 20 employees, what that really means. I don't really understand that that's like some magic line that, you can oscillate above or below, but that's where below that is where the help is really necessary. I don't get it. Why can't a business, whether it's 15 employees or 30 employees, cover its own legal obligations or seeking legal advice?
Why can't most of the companies that come to you and pay for their own advice?
That is a befuddling question. We have been trying to figure it out. Mostly that we're seeing a lot of trust concerns. We're seeing a lot of people who go to a lawyer and are told they can pay $2,500 to start an LLC that they can do for free. And there's a breach of trust there. So we see overcharging by attorneys sometimes. We see people who do not understand that they can go to an attorney and get basic services, that they don't need a specialized person. So there's a hesitation to reach out. There's the biggest problem that we see is the problem that we're trying to fill, which is the educational gap. When do I actually need to talk to an attorney? I have no idea. That's the most common question.
I get that bit.
Yeah.
It's training versus services.
Right.
Okay.
And the training supports the services.
Good. Anything further?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, these are the questions we need to be asking, because as you know, our finances are constrained this year. They aren't, not saying nothing, but they are constrained. Our appropriations committee is going to be giving us an amount to use to allocate. We are awaiting that, but we are wanting to entertain what we consider some of the most important resources because one of the few things we can offer businesses, that we have not that many tools in our toolkit, but one of them is supporting the resources that already exist. If we can help bolster their effectiveness, I think that is what we're looking at with these three areas. Great. Anything else, Russ?
No, I just appreciate your time and thank you for the questions. And
We may have more. So
I
stay on
completely
that.
understand. I understand that we will be doing more of a full presentation later into March with some of the organizations on the bill that's being contemplated. So if I have opportunity, I have students working right now on gathering a number of a number of statements that we can offer for businesses in that
Before you-
presentation.
Before you leave us, if you give us one or two illustrations of companies that have used you and the productive outcome that has.
I have two in mind. One is called Tree Line Terrains. This is a really cool company that makes three-dimensional topographic maps out of wood. They started out of Middlebury College. This is, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. We saw them right at the very beginning. They were wondering what an LLC was. They didn't know why they needed an operating agreement. They knew that they were making this cool product and they were making money off of it. We took them all the way from the beginning. We saw them when they switched to a new woodworking space twice. We had to help them review a commercial lease a couple of different times. And then we ended up helping them through State Small Business Credit Initiative when they closed on selling business. So beginning to end, this was college students who took this really cool product, went all the way to from beginning to end, had the attorney support that they needed, and then eventually had the support for closing. So we helped them all parts of that.
And it's now,
Successful sale. Yeah. Right. So the other one that I want to talk about, and I have permission to speak about both of these from these businesses, is Faithful Farm down in Barnard. They have been, it was an interesting conversation. Since the 70s, they got some bad advice from somebody about potential tax consequences to having multiple farms working in a cooperative status, but not organized as a cooperative.
Structure that one.
Yeah, so there's 4 different farms. They came to us and said, we might have gotten some bad advice. Could you help us understand what the law actually says? And could you help us form an agricultural cooperative? So Fable Farm is in the process of forming an ag co-op right now. And that was thanks to, again, State Small Business Credit Initiative. We were helping at that point to transition into a co-op structure. We found an attorney from that, capital expansion and employee ownership. So they are now consolidating. They're in compliance, which is great. They are in tax compliance, which is wonderful as well.
And they also
This
had
is
some Act
successful
250 issues, as I recall.
I didn't talk to them about that.
Got it. So, well, they're an amazing crowd.
Yeah.
Any
That's two examples. I can think of Wendy McKenzie with Everlasting Herb Farm. Who this is an example of where you have this really cool product and you think, gee, there must be something that I can do for intellectual property protection. But when you have a recipe, you can't protect the recipe. So what she had was a recipe for a cool product. And she came to us and we did education about trademark. We got her to an attorney to explore it, could not protect it through trademark. And that pivoted her to taking another tactic, being able to approach things differently. She eventually expanded the product, but that was the turning point for her to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to trademark, I'm not going to protect it that way. I'm going to build my brand another way. And I'm not going to protect this recipe. I'm going to build it a different way. She came to us a couple more times to see how she could protect her IP in other ways. This is a business who started in co-ops. It's now grown to a multi-state producer, right? So it's interesting to deal with. So I've got a ton of them, and every conversation we have with someone and an educational consultation, especially for the students there, because they just make the whole thing amazing. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm really glad that you're helping me see what I need to know and that I have an understanding of those things so I can navigate it on my own. It's not just about getting to an attorney. It is because they're ridiculously expensive to work with. Attorneys need to be paid, but they need to probably reduce their fees. It is about providing the information that the businesses just don't have, right? Blank spots on their map. So that
and
they
not
can
easy
navigate.
to find on your
No.
own out there.
No, and if you don't want to pay an arm and a leg for it, where do you get the information that's reliable?
So it sounds like some of it's bad, but any other questions before we turn to our micro business? Great. Nicole, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you
thank
so
you
much for the
for
time.
having launched this. I just think this is, I mean, I'm married to a lawyer, so I have a lawyer son. So, I mean, I always think lawyers are helpful in most cases. And it's just such a missing piece for our small businesses in particular. To go to David, to go to your question about why 20, I think in particular, the small business, larger businesses can begin to afford attorneys, but they also need to be directed in the right way.
Yeah. That seems to be the pivotal point, is about that point, the revenue is sufficient to be able to sustain an attorney despite the costs.
Great. Thank you so much. So Liz and Rosie, we welcome you.
No, we're gonna share, we're gonna do it together.
Okay,
And,
because
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Chair Clarkson and senators for your service and PR for your service to the committee.
great, we're gonna
Thank you for inviting us to testify.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share my screen, I think.
Yeah, you just have to ask permission and I'll allow you.
Okay,
So just to set it up, the micro business has long been supported by this committee. Micro business is where we start many of our smallest businesses. It is really a seed to entrepreneurship in Vermont and in large measure, and is really
alright. I don't think I need any audio or video, right? Because it's coming through.
Nope, yeah, everything.
Okay, perfect.
right. Okay,
All right.
perfect. Welcome.
Yes, thanks very much. Yep.
Introduce yourselves and take it
Sure.
away.
So my name's Liz Sharp. I know I've testified here in the past. I'm the Director of Community Economic Development and Food Security at Capstone Community Action in Barrie, and this is my colleague.
I'm Ruthie Gray, and I am the financial development and business coach bachelor's at Capstone, and also was a 20-year micro business owner in Dwell County.
Great.
So we thought we'd start out this testimony first with me giving an overview of the financial capabilities programs that the 5 community action agencies around the state offer. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about a few of them, and then I'm going to have Rosie focus on the micro business piece, which is what you're here to learn more about. But it's also important for you to understand how the other 2 programs that I'm going to be talking about intersect and support the micro business program.
Right.
So let's see. Okay, I can't. This. See.
And we also have it in front of us.
Okay, there we go. So we have, as you know, we are statewide, and so we serve every county and town in Vermont. And these are our executive directors at Capstone. Our most recent executive director is Allison Calderera. She's been with us officially since July, but was interim. So you may meet her in calls because she's at the State House a lot. And why? Having trouble turning the page. Okay, thanks. So just a brief overview of our request. We're asking for lots of money, but in the grand scheme of a big state budget, I believe that this is an investment that's really worthwhile for our low and moderate income Vermonters, of which we have a lot of them. And so we are looking to support these three programs, the Micro Business Development Program. We're asking for an increase of $500,000 in base funding. We're currently just shy of $500,000 in base funding that supports not quite a full-time equivalent business coach at each one of the community action agencies. We also have our VITA program, where we are requesting an overall increase in $150,000 from the base funding, which is $400,000 last year. And we did get a one-time $148,000 last year as a one-time to help us, which was super helpful to help grow our program.
Right.
And then finally, financial coaching, we are requesting, and this is important because financial coaching is so much a part of micro business, and Rosie will speak to that. We are requesting, right now we get $170,000 for the 5 state caps, which is $34,000 per agency, which really is a very small amount that doesn't provide any kind of full-time equivalent employee. And so some of us are better than other agencies at raising funds to support that. So at Capstone, we do have full-time financial coach equivalent. Again, that's Rosie and her colleague Mary, who share the job. So they are half-time micro business, half-time financial coaching, and they're constantly intersecting with those knowledge bases.
But the other 4 cap agencies.
So CDOEO does, both
CDOEO.
CDOEO and Capstone, we sort of take the lead. And then that is historically because we have, I would almost thank Northfield Savings Bank, who gave us a foundational grant for 3 years and really helped us build that program. That was like 10 years ago or 11 years ago. And so ever since then, we've been able to leverage money to say, look, we built this program. We have this great service. The other community action agencies weren't as fortunate and have had to sort of piecemeal programs together and to provide part-time supports. And again, you'll probably remember as well our match savings program, which was the IDA, individual development account savings, which was very robust in its time, did support micro businesses, but we lost federal funding for that, as well as state funding. And so that really just that $170,000 that you see is left over from that. So you'll see here in this little Venn diagram that these 3 programs really do intersect. So I'll give an example from the VITA program. So part of my job also is to be an advanced level income tax preparer for our volunteer income tax assistance program. So I support the program by, looking at people's taxes and approving them, things like that. So I had a gentleman last year who came with this beautiful binder, very neat, organized, all of his receipts, but he had just started a business as a metal collector. So he would go drive around, pick up metal and sell it to bulldogs. And he actually made quite a bit of money. I think he brought in like $75,000 in his first year. But he hadn't really collected the information that he really needed to do his taxes. And so I realized then and there that he really needed Rosie. He'd never seen a micro business coach before. He admitted to me, I have no idea what I'm doing. My mom told me to keep all my receipts, right? And so, I did an extensions for his taxes and I sent them over to Rosie, and Rosie got him all straightened out and so that he, for his first year of taxes, knew what he needed to do moving forward. She still supports him and his partner, both with financial counseling and business counseling. And that sort of, intersections. It's just, it's there all the time. It's a very natural, just process that we have within our agencies when we recognize that someone may need further support. And I'll also add that we refer to Nicole a lot as well. And Rosie will talk about that as well. So really with micro business, especially because what we're serving are basically 5 or fewer employees, including the owner. And I would say the vast majority are sole proprietor. So they have maybe 1 or 2 part-time employees, but we're really talking about one person, running the business, a sole proprietor without employees. And so we know that, your personal money management and personal finances are directly correlated to how you run your business, right? Because it's all sort of one and the same. The money you take in is the money you're using to live on, right? And so oftentimes, and Rosie will speak to this, they'll need a foundation before they can start. Looks like you're getting it wrong, but okay. So just quickly about our VITA tax program. In order to be eligible, you need to, it's families or individuals, doesn't matter your family size, 69,000 or less to file. And that changes every year. It goes up by a couple $1,000s every year.
So this is for individuals and or business.
Yes. So, and businesses, meaning people who do Schedule Cs. So we can't do really high level businesses. Like we're not doing business taxes for, a business. Yeah, corporations. But right. And so last year, we helped put back to the community, over $5 million in tax refunds. And that included, over $2 million in tax credits, like the earned income tax credit, child tax credit, income tax credits. And we do that, at no cost to the client. And so we run full-time VITA programs. Those are, what that means is during the year. So my colleague Laura, who runs our program at Capstone, throughout the summer, she is filing the homestead declarations that people forgot. She is responding to people who get letters from the IRS saying, what does this mean? Or I didn't get my refund. And so she's helping that person navigate. And she's also working with the tax advocate in Vermont. And she has IRS contacts that she can reach out to. So we're really providing a service that isn't just now, which is we're in the throes of it right now, through April, but also throughout the whole year. And so currently the treasurer's office supports us with $400,000 in their base budget, and we are requesting an additional $150,000 to support this program so that we can provide it year round. Oops, geez, I'm not learning well.
So
That's what I usually do the technical.
for VITA tax alone, you're looking at another.
150, yeah. Out of the base. So, I think it's in the base budget right now. I tried to.
So we'll go through that after you finish your
Okay.
presentation.
And
Okay.
so here's just a little example, and you can see down here, we did, as a state, 431 small business Schedule C tax returns, out of those 5,100 returns. And what you don't see here is because for some reason we can't track it on our software, but what you don't see here are a lot of the folks who do the homestead declarations and the property tax adjustments. You don't see that as a credit, how much money we're giving back to the community. We're not able to calculate that. But folks are accessing, their child tax credits, additional child tax credits and earned income tax credits through us. And we rely on volunteers. I mean, we would not be able to do this without the volunteers, but we also need the paid staff to oversee, train, and do all the stuff throughout the year that our taxpayers need.
Well, and very important to look at that $5,300 in tax returns to families who have very low income.
Yes, exactly.
So
Yes.
that's crucial.
Yes. And, getting the word out is super important because, a lot of folks, what we don't do is do tax return advances, right? So a place like a,
H&R Block.
right, we don't try to say their names, sorry. A place that prepares taxes, some places, will give a tax advance. We don't do that, but the risk behind that too is that some of these families may not actually be getting those, someone else may have claimed for them, right? Or taken the children, and then they find out that this child was already claimed by someone else. That it does happen. And really, those are many stories that we see are like people coming in saying, you know, they rejected because my kid is being rejected. And then you find out that someone else claimed the kid.
Bizarre.
Well, a lot of it, you know, we work with single moms, single parents, right? Grandparents who may be claiming children. So for our financial coaching, and this is, I'm going to have Rosie take over from here. We are requesting an additional 500,000 in order to really make this a full-time position. So Rosie, I'll let you take over from here and talk about your work as a financial coach and the great work that the state is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was privileged, I'll just give you a little bit of a backstory. In 2002, I did not mean to start a business. That happened totally by accident. I was fortunate that I had a background in accounting. So the money piece was very important for me to be able to track and whatnot. And it ties directly into obviously our micro business, because understanding your money is a foundation when you want to start a small business. You've got to know what's coming in, what's going out. Our financial coaching program I feel like it's very robust. We help so many people with navigating, not only just their spending plan, but them their credit, especially if they are a small business owner and they're looking to take that business loan out. They need to know that their credit looks well. So they do really, tie all it together. We also we work directly with our housing program. So as people who are either in a home, maybe in a homeless position, or they are transitioning from housing to housing, we work directly with them to, again, make sure that what their credit score looks like is satisfying so that they can get into housing. And educate. So this morning, I normally would be teaching a microbusiness class this morning.
Thank you for coming.
From 9 to 11, yes, but I'm here speaking to you wonderful people. And we have a very robust class a series of classes that we teach throughout the majority of the year, from like September to May. And
Are they prerequisites for your additional work?
They're not necessarily prerequisites, but all of our all of our micro business people who come through, we highly recommend that you come to these. They get about a year's worth of education, but come to 12 hours of class.
Right.
So we can.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to say that a year ago, 2 years ago, we received funding from the Department of Financial Regulation. That was CDOEO and Capstone in order to do our financial coaching. And at that point too, we had a focus on financial fraud education. And that we have applied for another grant for that. I don't know if we're going to get it because we've gotten it before. But that's also a piece that we address with folks who have been victims of financial fraud or who are at risk of being a victim of financial fraud. Oops, here we go. Just press it on the button.
About 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah. And here's just some data.
Right.
And then Rosie, why don't you go into the micro business?
Yeah, so we've helped groups of people over the years with our micro business program. Last year alone, through all of the community actions, we helped 77 businesses. And when we say small businesses, these are really the smallest of the businesses. Some of them have started LLCs. And I'll touch on Nicole. A lot of people think that they've got to pay that $300 to $500 to get registered. I sit down with them. We do that together. If they have questions, I send them over to Nicole.
So when you say 77 businesses, that's just you. That's not all 5.
No, so that's all 5 started, right? So we worked with 600 Vermonters, but only 77 of them actually started a business.
Yeah. And the 35 of them had some sort of business expansion, and we have about 524,000 access capital, and then another equivalent of 52 full-time jobs were created, which doesn't sound like it's a lot, but keep in mind, a lot of people who are starting small businesses, this is like a supplemental to their existing W-2 job that they have, right? Like times are tough for a lot of people, so what else can I do to and a lot of people think, I'm going to start a small business.
And I'll also just add here, you were asking about the, what is this magic number of 20? I think part of it is data, but also it is, it's to show that, in Vermont, there are 15,000 businesses that have under 20 employees, which is a significant amount of businesses. And
I think it's like 80 or 90% of our.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 or fewer employees.
I think Vermont actually has more small businesses than most states. In fact, it says here Vermont ranks, I learned this from the census, that Vermont ranks number 5 in the country for the greatest per capita rate of sole proprietor. So someone who's just, had like Rosie, who had her own business, was just herself running a sports therapy business, no employees. There's 10 of those for every 100 people, which is a lot. And so I think Florida has like 11 or 12. And so we are number 5 in the country that has, sole proprietor. And, why is that? Part of it may be that there's, we're go-getters and there's not a huge amount of industry here, right? And we live here because we like the state and, we like.
It may be because they actually need money.
And they need money.
And they need to create another business.
And most of our,
May also be,
right.
because we're also a state of entrepreneurs. I mean,
Exactly.
farmers, every farmer was an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
He's a farmer.
Oops, I did it again.
Yeah, so we have a tradition, I would say, of entrepreneurship, and we sadly have a tradition of
Resources, yeah.
needing more to survive.
Yeah. So, partnerships that we have.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So some of our resources and our partnerships that we have, like DT Law, one of the classes that I teach, we always talk about, the need and when you need to seek out. And I always refer people to Nicole. We do work quite closely with other state agencies, Hireability, ICANN, BayBar. They consistently seek out community action as the go-to, right? We are the resource they're looking for because they know that they feel that we are an expert in this field. And if you don't
From
mind,
the ground up starting. Ground up
because we're
starting. And
working.
so just remind everybody, Hireability is the partnership with UI and Folk Rehab
Yeah, for disabled.
and for disabled.
Exactly, for disabled Vermonters, low income Vermonters, and they have to have that qualifier in order to get into their program.
Right, and the other two that you mentioned, referrals to you.
So ICANN is a program for people who, again, are disabled. Usually they have to go through Hireability in order to access ICANN. And these are people who are on typically SSDI who want to either establish employment or start a small business. They then refer them to Capstone as the foundation for this is who you need to work with to discuss your money and how this business is going to get off the ground.
And it's tied to SNAP.
Right.
3 squares. But read that, sure, I don't have a lot of time. I think
So-
it's a good testament.
Yeah, so this particular client was referred to me from ICANN, SSDI, had gone through Hireability, and was looking at self-employment. And she writes, I'm writing in to express my sincere gratitude for the support I received from Rosie Gray and the financial coaching services offered through Capstone. Had the privilege of attending a microbusiness class instructed by Rosie. So that's where we initially met. Where she also provided individual financial coaching. As someone who has recently struggled with finances following a traumatic brain injury, I found the prospect of restructuring the business side of my business to be terrifying. My work with Rosie has brought me to a place of structure and confidence. Rosie helped me reevaluate my financial struggles and gain confidence in handling my own administrative tasks. She demonstrated unwavering belief in my ability to succeed. The coaching has provided me with the essential tools and accountability that were missing in my life, allowing me to manage my affairs successfully. Rosie is a professional who brings positive, productive energy to every session, offering creativity and inspiring solutions. She also has that unique ability to see the best in people and deeply committed to supporting those who face unique challenges. My success today is due to her support, her program, and her willingness to educate me. So what I will say is that when this person was referred to me, they did not, as in the agency that was referring, did not look at this person's personal finances. Once we started going down that road, we were able to deem that this is not the time for you to start a small business. right? So that's the hard stuff that we also work with people is that while it sounds like it's a good idea right now to start, for some people, it's like you have this much funds coming in and it's not gonna
This
be
is gonna compromise all the other things you want to do.
And so when we do our class on cash flow, the first piece of that is we do their personal finances first. Because you have to see, like, that's the foundation. You have to be able to see, will this small business support the business and my personal life? And then you use that as a strategy. Is it time for me to give up that W-2 job, right? And then we talk about social security and did you work your 10 years and credits and all that good stuff. So it's bigger than just micro business. Like they all just go hand in hand together. So.
And this last slide is just an example of that it takes years, right? Like this isn't a one and done. Oftentimes folks work with our coaches for years. And this just little story here shows how this person received a $50,000 community loan fund, $10,000 from Higher Ability, and went from, doing one or two little sales at at a concession stand, and now is a regular with 4 part-time employees, a year and a half later. And, they attest that, they really give credit to the business coach for helping them understand all the steps it takes to get from, I like to cook and I want to sell my food, to I'm actually at the stand doing it and I have 4 part-time employees.
And do I need to pay meals tax?
Right.
Do I need to pay the state of Vermont meals tax? Right. So
Right. And so this is a really crucial, and again, we are asking to support this micro business program, by also including the financial counseling component in it, because I think the model that Capstone has, as well as NECA up in the Northeast Kingdom, is to really combine that, have that financial counseling as a foundational base for the micro business coaches. Because you can be a business owner and come in and think, oh, I know how to coach. But if you really don't understand the people that we're serving, which are the low and moderate income Vermonters, and the benefits systems and all of the things that come with this package of this person, we really need to have that financial coaching component. And, it really is, we're paying our staff a living wage, but, most of our staff are not making more than $55,000, $56,000 a year. So this money really is going to employ and educate the staff so that they can provide a service to many Vermonters who benefit from it.
Right. Committee, any questions?
One thing I'm struck by a couple of the really significant increases that you're requesting for this year. Financial coaching going from 170,000 to 670,000, and
Micro businesses 493 to 993.
right, 493 to 993. Those are huge.
They are
increases.
big increases. We start big. I mean, we ask for what we think we can do, knowing that we know that this is a year of austerity. And I think that if you were to say to me, Liz, what is your dream? Like, what would you like the most of? I really believe that what we as a whole network, and I've talked with all of my counterparts, we would really benefit from the financial coaching piece to support the micro business, because that really is so much of what we do, and to have our model of training. So every agency has a accredited financial counselor through what's called the AFCPE, to really get those people trained up in that, in personal finance, so that they can better support our micro business program, so that we really are a bundle of financial capability.
So at the moment in the governor's budget, there is allocated to the Department of Children and Families to distribute to this program, 594,000.
The micro business.
I
Or to-
believe that's what it's specific.
Yeah, I saw in your bill that 594,000, and that was a little unclear to me what that money is, because historically we've gotten the 170 that just sort of is this hanging chad of money.
So that may be your
that
total budget.
that might be if you add that, but no, because the 493 is what we get for micro business, and we've gotten that for the last
Right,
couple
and
of
so I
years.
believe, so we will clarify that,
Okay,
but whatever is in the governor's budget for micro business, you would want us to be considering the difference between your ask of 993 and whatever's in the governor's budget.
yes.
So I believe, I'm pretty sure it's 594. We can double check. We have,
And what we'd really like to do is use that money for, again, the finance, I want to be clear about this because, you know, the micro business coaches, I don't know that at this very moment, we're going to double the capacity of the micro business, but rather have that support of the financial coaching to support, the micro business so that the programs are continue to be whole. Because right now they're not whole at all of the agencies. And it's primarily because we don't have the money for financial coaching.
Are there the number of micro businesses to be able to support? Is there any evidence, for example, that you have a customer base that this would demand such a huge increase?
Well, I mean, I would say that there are that number I quoted, 60,000 sole entrepreneurs, and we serve 600 or, you know, so I believe there is. I think one of our issues as well, like, for example, in NECA, their territory is so wide, right? It's a big territory, but there's few people, right? And so getting to those folks when you have an office only in St. Johnsbury, for example, you're not necessarily reaching the other areas of the state like you could be. So do I believe that there are?
There's and their aging population, they have a greater age of 60 and above in the NECA area. So, and I will tell you that since last March, we started doing online intakes for our for people who want to have services with us, whether it's classes or one-on-ones. And I have had 154 people reach out to me, one person in the last year. That's a lot of people to work with for one micro business coach.
wow.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, you can't really, and I know that CDOEO has a wait list. I know CDOEO definitely could use an additional in Chittenden County because their base is, they definitely have a huge number of people that are on a wait list. So even if we had one, so right now we have 5 coaches, if we had one extra one, that would be certainly very helpful, especially if that person could be, because I know Rosie does a lot of online stuff, like, so she's working, you know, online with folks. And so having someone, a 6th person, I think would be great.
Okay.
We're just going big. And
No,
knowing
here,
that-
before we turn to wait, Rick's got just an update, just to remind us, because we
Okay.
heard from joint fiscal on this. I
Okay.
just wanted to remind us what is where.
Thank you.
So, Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel. I'm not a JFO, I'm not a budget person, but I do see the governor's recommended budget that $493,339 was, I don't want to use the word earmarked,
Yeah.
but seems to be allocated for specifically for the micro business development
Right, yeah.
program through the Office of Economic Opportunity.
Yeah,
Right.
Thank you, yeah.
And what we
That's what I
did
thought.
was we added another 100,000 to that.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
What
And
we're,
not including this 170, because I did see the 170 in that budget as well.
The 170 for
300.
individual development accounts, and that was
Yes.
for
Yeah.
financial services.
For financial, yeah, 170,300, it says IDA is still on that.
Yes.
Okay, so the 493, let's say, is the base that is included.
Yes.
In the base budget. Yeah, Amy had some, does Amy have a thought?
If it's okay to talk, Madam
You
Chair.
introduce yourself.
Yeah, Amy Schallenberger, I represent VCAP, the Vermont Community Assistance Partnership, Action Partnership, sorry. I just wanted to know for Senator Brock, this is not a new request. The
Oh,
CAP
no.
agencies have been asking for this increase for a while. And also just to note it's important to note that each CAP agency needs to add capacity, which is, I think what was just clarifying. So whatever you decide to support, it needs to be enough for all the CAPs to add a capacity in this program.
Right, we have to think in multiples of 5 and like, how is this?
Right, I know, yeah.
Right, so I think the amount we have in here had $100,000 increase to the governor's, but, and we will discuss.
Yeah.
Now that we're clear.
I see
on
what
the
you're saying, yeah,
individual
okay.
asks For the individual
Yeah.
programs, because
Yeah.
you have micro business here, and you rolled out micro business and.
And the
And
financial, yes,
financial
it's the financial coaching is a sort of a, it's like, who's the bedfellow for financial coaching, right? Because it really is, I mean, it hits housing, it hits businesses, it hits, just, there's a lot of things around financial coaching where you could say, where can we get this money?
Great, okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
And please reach
because
out if you
we're-
have any other questions.
It's such an important resource for our particularly low and moderate income Vermonters. And so many great businesses have come out of this. Just quickly, things like, well, we always talk about Switchback, but there are other wonderful service industries, service businesses and businesses in our community we all rely on.
Yes, that we all rely on, exactly. Yeah.
That have come out of this.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you and more to follow. Wei, why don't you come and join us for our last 25 minutes?
Morning. For the record, my name is Weiwei Wang, Chief of Pronouns. I'm co-executive director of the Vermont Color Network. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Welcome, it's great.
And I do have, I joined the Zoom in order to share my screen. Today, I'm really here to make a request from the committee to be added.
I just will preface this by saying we have not included Weiwei in our initial draft because we had assumed, and incorrectly, that Weiwei's was at least in the base budget, was included in the base budget, the governor's budget. And what I found out shortly after that meeting was, no, it's not. And so we're going to hear from Weiwei that why and what she needs.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to clarify that point, VTPOC is under a grant, a competitive grant with Think Vermont. They have the Growth Relocation Program. That program is to support relocation of folks from outside of Vermont to Vermont, finding jobs, finding communities to live in. So VTPOC has been part of that for the last 2 years. And we were able to get another 2-year grant from them for the amount of $60,000 a year. So that is where the $60,000 comes from. And I have an email from Commissioner Pelham, if that's of interest, to state that it is a competitive grant, not a base funding operation. But what we are asking for today is, with consideration to all of the financial concerns, to be included in the bill for $75,000 for FY27 as a base appropriation. I'm going to share my screen. I wanted to share because that did come up. So I wanted to share this because we did present this last year to the committee as well as to House Commerce, that there are about 30,000 Vermont firms or businesses, and about 93 of them are actually under 20 employees. So that's why the small business component of what we have all been talking about is really important. So I just wanted to bring that up to set that foundation. In terms of what VTPOC is doing, so over the last, to set the ground a little bit, and we do have my written testimony in front of you as well, we received back in 2023, $250,000 appropriation in a contract through DED. That was spread over 2 years, so effectively $125,000 a year. With that work, we were able to, if you actually look at my testimony in front of you, because this goes into some more detail. We connect, so this is our outreach capacity across the state and also outside of the state. So we have a broad reach, and this is from October of 25. So these numbers have actually increased since then. Our reach is broad. It is to the BIPOC community as well as beyond. We have white employers and employers of all stripes within our network. So we share information across the state and on the different
issues, including what is coming out of the state. We did a lot of work, for example, with the Secretary of State's office in terms of getting people out to vote. We've also worked with the Treasurer's office to make sure that folks know about the new, what is that called? I'm part of it. The savings plan.
Vermont Saves.
Vermont Saves. Wow. Well, yay. Yeah, so
That's
we're
great.
part of it.
That's great, terrific.
So these are some of the things that we do, including working with, for example, BDCC. They have that White Employment Pathfinder program. So we work with organizations.
Remind us on the acronyms. That's Brattleboro.
Brattleboro Development Board.
Yeah.
Thank you for drafting me on that.
No, it's just we all.
Yeah. And so our presence, in terms of our social and in-person presence, has extended pretty broadly to all counties with, I'm so sorry to say, not yet Grand Isle, but we are working on that. And our numbers are growing effectively in Orange, Essex, and Caledonia counties. We were able to supplement a USDA grant in the last year that ended this past year to support outreach in that area. So ACCD funding supported that, as well as with the USDA contract or grant. And that was in partnership with Discover St. Johnsbury. So in terms of another piece of what we do is networking events for both professionals and the workforce for professionals, businesses and professionals. You can see that our events have actually grown over the last few years. We started off in 2024 with 24 networking events. We expanded that to 36. Right now, we have 52 scheduled for this fiscal year. Our fiscal year runs from October to September. So we have 52 scheduled, and we still have our final quarter to actually schedule events. These are focused on making sure that professionals are connecting to employers, businesses are connecting to each other. Some of the things that we've heard, especially in the Northeast Kingdom, is in having these connections, they're better able to support each other and to, for example, a metering company is connected to a construction company. Hopefully they'll be able to build out a physical space, things of that nature. As well as outreach. So we've increased our outreach capacity as a result of state funding. What does that mean? It means partnering with other organizations, being present at conferences to make sure that people know about our services, as well as speaking about the importance of expanding workforce, attracting workforce, especially from out of state, and why that's important. We've had to reduce our education events a little bit. So one of the educational workshops that we have been producing is with Nicole Florin around legal issues for businesses specifically. So a lot of those workshop topics that she listed there were including BTPOC workshops.
And what federal funding means you've had to restrict your number of education programs? Well,
It's because we increased our business technical assistance clinics.
So it's not because you lost support from the feds. Because my guess is there might, if there was any federal money.
Yeah, no, there was no federal money for that. So this contract was supporting that. But we increased our business technical assistance clinics last year because we wanted to be physically present in the various communities, especially since we are primarily based in Chittenden County. We wanted to have a presence in other parts of the state to make sure that we were supporting businesses where they're at.
And that's what you've been working to grow.
Yes, exactly. Part of another piece of what we do is supporting business owners, employers, and also professionals. We produce educational videos. These are on-demand videos on financial literacy topics, on legal topics. We share those as well as other topics that come up as requests through our business technical assistance direct service meetings. We also have built 89 or more ongoing and consistent partnerships with nonprofits, state agencies and departments, and businesses. So these are relationships where we are building more. An example is I've been meeting with Hireability. Something that they're doing is looking at building out their mid and advanced career supports for professionals to find new jobs. That's actually something that was mentioned to Senator Weeks. We are also experiencing a higher demand for support as people are hitting that mid and advanced career stage, but there are no other supports. So we are taking that in-house. And so that is something to be aware of as we continue, because there aren't as many opportunities for support there.
And are these, some of these returnships, people returning to the workforce after COVID, or are these?
No, they've
The
been
whole range.
working. They have been working,
They've been
at
working.
least our clients, that's what I could say. And I have a few other statements around that, but, so just
There's some federal job cuts as well.
Oh, yeah.
There are definitely.
Yeah, all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and people who are just looking to figure out what is their next step as well.
Yeah.
So for example, we had,
Just curious.
yeah, absolutely. One client who is in education, and had planned on staying within the school systems, but ultimately we supported to look at other opportunities that were available in the state and ended up at a nonprofit. And I believe that they were able to, they successfully got the position and also got a $12,000 pay bump, which is nice for them as well as the tax base. So these are some of the partnerships that we've had just from 2025 alone. This is not all inclusive, but we've worked with, for example, Cole as well as CBOYO and the various community action programs. What I really want to focus our work conversation today is also around our business and workforce development support. You'll see in this graph the number of people that we've supported individual cases across the May 23 to about January 26 period. You'll note that the flood recovery timeline, there was a lot more clients during that time. So we served up until February, April of last year, a total of 72 clients through the flood recovery, in addition to some of the other clients that we had. So there's a lot of clients.
And if we could just pause there, you know, especially for those of us who were on this committee for that time period, you already existing was really important for when that event happened, right? Like people were knew to reach out to you, you had to ramp up, but you were there. And that's really important to remember because this will happen.
Yeah, exactly. And we're consistently still taking on new business clients. So I would say on average about 10 clients per month. But you'll also see the trend in the workforce that I was mentioning. So we are seeing an upward trend in terms of workforce requests. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of that mid-career, advanced career individuals seeking support from us because they don't have anywhere else to go. So we are making connections with employers across the state because we have developed these relationships. We're also connecting them to programs like the Capstone programs, to CBOEO, to other organizations where they can also receive support because it is really hard. I think something that Nicole was talking about in terms of like why people look for legal support from Small Business Law Center, it's because they don't know where to go. We are a user of their services because it is so hard to find a lawyer who can offer that support. When we're thinking about nonprofits across the state, there are 6,000 nonprofits supporting our community. And it's very hard as an individual to go online and say, this is the right program that's going to serve us. We as an organization, we are doing that work on behalf of the community, on behalf of professionals and businesses and employers to say, hey, you live in this area, you have this concern that you have, let me connect you to the right individuals, these trusted individuals that will take you by the hand to make sure that you're successful. Like the voice here, as well as like Nicole, and TSBDC. So we have become that trusted source of information, not just for the BIPOC community, but also for all employers or many employers across the state. They'll come to us, what should we do in terms of workforce recruitment and retention? These are things that we are starting to see. We are receiving questions around how do I purchase this business? How do I succeed as business owner? to make this happen. I turned them to Nicole at that point, so that they can get their free 10 free hours of legal consult. So this is what we have been doing. Again, we're seeing on average 10 business owners per month, on average 10 to 12 workforce clients as well. And something I would like to note is that I did the calculations, and on average, it costs the state about $101.24 for each business client that we serve, and we offer 5 to 10 hours of free service. And I'd like to share a story of a business owner named Mais Vargas. I've gotten permission to share the story. Mais came to us because he's an artist and business owner, and he initially wanted to figure out a way to fund his studio album that he wanted to put out. And as we were talking, we ended up working on what we called the Latin Connection Festival. This was a festival that I connected Mais to this idea of bringing together Latin music, artists, vendors together in a space to celebrate Latino culture, especially in the city of Burlington, because he said he's on a WhatsApp group that has like 3,000 individuals, something like that.
Oh my
It
God.
was a large number. I might be exaggerating. But it's a very large number, and I was very surprised.
I know our APA group is like 100 people or something.
Yeah,
We get on that.
Yeah. So it was a large number. And ultimately I connected him to the city of Burlington and to the ACA, and they partnered together to build a Latin Connection Festival on an existing program at the city of Burlington called the Twilight Block Party. So this was held last September 20th. It had the largest audience of the Twilight Block Party programming, right? Series. Thank you. And it brought together 8 Latino music groups from Vermont, from the Burlington area, as well as vendors and artists. So I believe there were 4 to 5 food vendors, as well as a number of Latino artists who marketed there. In total, we raised $12,000 to support that event, of which VTPOC was directly involved in 7,000 of that funding. So that's just one example of the work that we're doing, and we're doing it at the cost of stay of about $100 to support that fund. Yeah.
And give us a notion, your total budget is what? You're asking us for 75
Yeah.
this year.
So our total budget on an annual basis is about $650,000. In the past, so what I have mentioned, 125,000 came from the state as a contract to support this work. We understand that it's a tight financial year for the state this year. So where we really start to look is, what do we really need to offer? So the $75,000 we're asking for would really be covering a lot of that direct business and professional workforce assistance, making sure that people have their needs met. For businesses, employers, professionals. We will have to reduce some of the other activities that we've been doing. For example, some of our, we might have to reduce our educational workshops. We might have to also reduce some of our partnership opportunities, because a lot of those activities, we're not able to get funded otherwise. The state has been really helpful so that we can continue the partnerships. One of them being Lunch with Lenders that we partner with CEO on. This is where we get startup businesses to come into a space that feels comfortable to them. In the past years, it's been Winooski High School or somewhere in Winooski. And we invite financial institutions. So traditional lenders, credit unions, VITA, Vermont Community Loan Fund, and we all come together and learn about what the different lending options are based on what the individual business needs. So this has been really successful, attracting 75 small business owners almost every single year. This year we had to be remote, so it was a little bit more limited, but we still successfully finished that this past Saturday, actually. So those are some of the partnerships that we might not have the capacity to actually support with this reduced ask, but where we think it's really critical is that direct assistance, making sure that people get access to existing resources that we're not trying to replicate.
Perfect. Any additional questions for Wendy? So, terrific. What do you, I think, given the number of us in this committee don't live in Chittenden County, you know, 3 of you were there. What in particular do you see as some of the barriers to our really helping our BIPOC community in surrounding areas to really to better access the resources that do exist statewide for all business startups? And I assume you're obviously for cabinet, so your outreach is devoted in large measure to this. But I think that we'd appreciate the sort of understanding that landscape a little bit more fully, because there are some barriers that maybe none of us are aware of.
Absolutely. I think outreach is a huge part of it. I think of access in 6 different ways. Availability of a resource, awareness of a resource, affordability of a resource, physical accessibility of a resource, whether the resource accommodates the individual, and acceptability of the resource by the individual. So does that person trust it? Where we are stuck in Vermont, in terms of accessibility, is awareness. People are not aware of the resources that are available. That's why we do a lot with the state to make sure that people know about VT Saves, about My Voter Page, about hireability as an example, because these are not resources that people think to look to immediately when they come up with a problem. You know, we don't think about, folks don't think about VSAT as a place to go to support their educational needs. So these are the things that we are doing to make sure it gets out there. And to your point, you know, whether it's in Chittenden County, to be honest, or beyond, it is accessibility of information. And people are not necessarily turning to the front porch forums or going downtown to look on the bulletin boards. There are communication channels that we have access to and that we are placing ourselves in so that these individuals can find out about it. And a lot of it has to do with physically being present. Our Northeast Kingdom business meetups have been really successful. They've attracted 35 business owners every single time we go there, because there is a desire to be physically present and to learn about these resources in person. So those are the types of things we're doing. What I find a lot of organizations do is they sit back and they say, okay, well, I got the information out there because I put it on social media and I put it on a newsletter. The newsletters are not getting to the individuals. So we are physically going to these spaces to make sure that people are getting the information that they need, especially within more rural areas. People have that deep desire to feel connected to each other.
I think that there's the individual meeting one-on-one, or, you know, just even educational, all these outreach pieces in person really enable one to build trust in a way that just an online or social media outreach just doesn't cut the mustard.
Absolutely. Trust is a huge part of it. And that's that
But you mentioned that early on.
Yeah.
Building trust in a community that may not trust everything that's offered to them.
Exactly. And that's where we are well positioned. You know, we do to a certain extent hold people's hands through different processes, because it's hard to trust when you're the only person in the room and you haven't been in that space before. It doesn't matter who you are. It is hard to know, like, what are the moves that I need to make in order to be successful here. So we try to break down those barriers for our folks, for our clients. Yeah.
Terrific. Anything else?
Well, this just reminds me that it would also be great to hear from Meg Smith and is it Nikki Kent? Cole Kent at Red Clover. They started a venture capital firm in Vermont, Meg Smith of the Women's Fund, to support women business owners with women lenders. And they don't do it from a sort of deficit place. Similarly to VTPOC, they have a great slide deck that is essentially highlighting that millennial women are now going to be the inheritors of a lot of generational wealth. And a lot of decisions are going to be made about where women and people of color invest and spend money. And unless we're on the front edge of that, we just actually stand to lose out. I mean, this is our demographic challenge. This is our investment challenge. This is our resource challenge. This is like a very worthwhile $75,000. Like, I think you deserve more. I think it's very noble to sort of limit the ask, but I hope we haven't looked at demographic slides just this session to look at how, 10% of our school population are kids of color versus 3% of our senior population. Like, unless we are speaking to their needs and creating community, we very much stand to lose talented people to other states. So this is just really critical work, and it would be good to hear from Meg and Nikki just to underscore that this isn't because no money here or talent here or drive here. It's because it's just going to go elsewhere.
Exactly. And just on that last point, in our survey in 2024, we had 685 respondents. And I would say, I think 50 or 60% of them had higher ed degrees, bachelor's or higher professional degrees. So we have a wealth of talent in the community. And we're trying to keep them here because they do want to be here. That's what was stated.
We don't want to lose them if they are here either.
Exactly. We want to retain them.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so
More to
much.
follow. This was a terrific
Let
start.
me just ask a question also.
Sorry.
And that is, we've heard a number of things today about either specialized groups or groups in a certain economic category, in which there are individuals using rifles to hit that particular target for economic development, or personal development, or retention, for attraction, and so on. Does that suggest also that the state as a whole is failing to do some of the things that it should be doing to cast as wide a net as possible?
I think the state is doing the best that it can. There's so much that the state is doing. And that's where I do think that nonprofits like us and the others who have spoken today, that's where we're here to support that.
Well, one of the basic questions that I hear as a common denominator is people don't know where to go to get something.
Yeah.
And the question is, should we have, on a statewide basis, a big book that has everything in it as to where you go to get whatever?
Well,
And the phone which
That might
I
be,
love the
but what I'm saying is that we have all kinds of people and groups and segments who say, I need these things. Well, they're the same things that other people and other segments need. And the question is, do we have a book, a method, something so that everything isn't individual, that you've got to figure out, well, if you want economic development, you want to know how to get somebody to help you with your taxes. Nobody knows where to go.
So that takes us to sections 7 and 8 in our bill, which identifies the state, what resources you need at what stage in development.
well, and we'll never,
never do it
everyone
100%.
will ever have uniform needs,
Thank
right?
goodness.
Like I helped our US senators, son with an Indian wedding in Vermont because there's nowhere to go online to say, like, how do you put together an Indian wedding in Vermont? I mean, that these are very specific needs that you need
These are kinds of things
community
you use
to help
AI
answer.
for.
Well, no, this is.
I wish, but
Hopefully we'll have more.
AI have not
next
reached
year.
the Indian community
Right.
in that way. It's like,
I think on that note, we're going to go offline, take our break, and be back at 11:15. Randy, I think that is exactly why we're asking